I didn't sleep very well. I don't know, I just been dying to do an audio about this. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Often enough, it has been said by the never enough honored ancients, as well by some modern authors, that a man is his own worst enemy. On the other hand, the best gift for which a man might pray is to be at peace with himself. And indeed, for so long as he is not at peace with himself, he can hardly be at peace with anybody else. Eventually, this man will project his own disorders, making of the enemy, for example, anyone is in his way. He will make anyone his devil. From whence comes wars and fighting amongst you? Come they not hence, even for your lusts, pleasures, desires, etc. You see, ancient metaphysics talks about the two of us, the two in us. There's unity, no doubt, of only one, but there's a distinction. There's a distinction to be made, although there's no difference between. We are one soul, but there's a distinction that needs to be made. We are fused, but do not confuse the living soul with the transcendent soul. The transcendent soul, have you ever seen a centaur? Imagine, picture a centaur. The transcendent soul is the man, and the living soul is the horse. The transcendent soul controls the horse. It has to tame the horse. And once it achieves it, a centaur appears, you see, which is the man controlling the beast. All right? The beast is what causes all of these wars. Yeah? The beast that, for instance, some modern scholars call the ego. And, for instance, the Hindus and the Buddhists say must be conquered or tamed, for that is not myself. This beast is the enemy. All right, this beast is the dragon. This beast is the seducer, and it is so easily persuaded. Yeah. So you, the soul, the man in this body, you have to control it. That's what self-control means. Something is having control over something else. Because we know that nothing acts upon itself. It is this beast that we have to be very careful. In situations of isolation, extreme isolation, deprivation of spirituality, um, these feelings, I mean, especially in this culture that we're going through, that annihilation is, what everybody's seeking, because they don't have a spiritual dimension. You see, feelings of totalitarianism arise, and this is what many scholars have been saying. When you isolate an individual and you feed him propaganda, he will then, of course, devoid of spirituality, he will then come out and start looking for others. He will start projecting into others, hey, have you fallen for this, that, and the other? And if so, they will have something in common, right? Carl Jung said, when the fate of Europe carried it into a 4-year war of stupendous horror, a war that nobody wanted, hardly anyone asked who had caused the war and its continuation, the answer would have been unwelcome. It was I, your I and mine. He's talking about this beast, this physical self. For, in the words of another modern psychologist, the tragedy of this delusion of individuality is that it leads to isolation, fear, paranoia, suspicion, and unnecessary hatred. The more isolated we are, the more, and the lack of spiritual dimension, the more we are inclined to totalitarian thoughts and ideas. Yeah? This is what the far left is all about, totalitarianism. Yeah? Now, the far right is not so different, but that requires an explanation, I think. You see, the far right is a theocracy. And a theocracy has abandoned the rights of the individual in favor of the collective. A theocracy has abandoned the rights of the family in favor of the theocracy. See, this is the theocracy that controls every single microtransaction of your life, similar to the totalitarian regime. But one, pretends it has a spiritual dimension, and the other doesn't have a spiritual dimension. Both of them want to control every micro happening of your life. You see? Anyway, where was I? This is the doctrine of the two souls, the beast soul and the transcendent soul. Where is it? I'm sorry, I got lost here. I got a massive headache, Oh man. There it is. This has always been familiar to the theologians. Always been familiar to the scientists of the past, the theologians, the metaphysicians, that there's a two-part in our soul, the transcendent and the mortal soul, the living soul and the immortal soul. It's always been familiar, and whose writings they call this beastly soul that is, thinking about constantly about, excesses, drinks, food, rest, sex, is always thinking about those things. Easily persuaded and corruptible. The theologians of the past call this simply as the enemy, the tempter. This is the one murderer in the divine life within you. It is your own Cain that murders your own Abel. And self is the root, the tree, and the branches of all evils in our fallen state. Satan, sometimes, or the adversary, of which is the same thing, self-exaltation. This is that full-born natural self that must be pulled out of the heart and totally denied, or there can be no disciple of Christ. Indeed, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Then also the war in heaven will be there until Satan has been overcome. That is, until man, in this man, is master of himself. Master of himself, you see? There was another part I wanted to read. Yeah, it's here. It is often been said that the devil's most ingenious device is to persuade us that his existence is a mere superstition. In fact, however, nothing can be more dangerous than to deny his existence, which is as real, although no more so, as your own. You know, this adversary is the living soul. It is the root of all, problems. Nature, animals, you see, they all follow natural order. They're not persuaded, by anything. They just follow the rhythm. It is only through us that evil manifests, you see. It only is through us. It's not, a person in a place, a person with horns and a forked tongue in a place with something outside of us. No, 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 no. That's a child's, a child, when you give candy to children, you are fooling them. That's a very bad tactic. You're giving them a false idea of what evil is. You're personifying, like the pantheists love to do it. They love to personify things. Oh no, it's like a guy with horns and he lives in a specific place, and it's outside of you. No, 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 no. Heaven and hell is within you. Again, if you are confused that the devil is some guy in a hellish place, you have been convinced that almost he doesn't exist. You're halfway there anyway. We dare not deny Satan until we have denied, yes, this countless possibilities of evil that is amongst us. We are capable of making them reality. Hence, self-control. You have to have self-control. You have to become the man holding the horse, like a centaur. you know Self-control. I just remember there was this woman who decided to take some testosterone. She wanted to become a man or something temporarily. She only took like 10% of the testosterone men have. And she said, I can't believe this. She said, I can't believe how men control themselves. I was feeling like having sex with everybody I crossed. Testosterone, gives you that. And men really are champion of self-control. Yeah, at least most of us. In some areas of the world, they can't even see the ankle of a woman. They have to be covered, completely because they have no self-control. So yeah, Satan is equated with the ego. Satan and ego are the same entity, and these concepts have been postulated and valid only for, you know, the present provincial and practical purposes. You know, ego, it's a new term. In the past, it was just Satan or the adversary, the dragon, the seducer, the anima, many names. Eve, you see, they called Eve the physical self and Adam the immortal self. And it is Eve that seduced Adam to eat the fruit of knowledge, and make babies, something like that. So the Greeks, they call the agathos demos Adam, and the agathos kakos Eve, the fair and the foul selves, Christ and the Antichrist, both inhabit us, and their opposition is within us. This is just going straight to the point. Christ or Antichrist. It doesn't mean I believe in their theology. These are just archetypes. You can understand what I'm trying to say, right? Christ and Antichrist are within you. They inhabit both in us, and they are in opposition with us because the eternal soul is always in conflict with that which is not the soul. So the living soul is always in opposition. They are always battling. I'm always battling. I'm always battling feelings, emotions. I'm always battling, hatred, anger, I'm always fighting, jealousy, envy. I'm always fighting those things. Yeah, that's called self-control. Do not steal. Do not unalive. That's self-control, and that's a battle within you. Something you have to do it constantly, right? Light and darkness are undivided, like the lamb and the lion sleeping together. In the beginning of all traditions testify heaven and earth were one, and together essence and nature are one in God. And it remains for every man to put them together again within himself. You see, put them together, these forces, put them together. Do not let, the cacodemon rule your life. When I see a narcissist, he's being ruled by the cacodemon, you know. He's being ruled by the living soul. It's all about me, 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 me. That's the living soul. The eternal soul, the immortal soul, doesn't make mistakes. It's what you call sometimes intuition. The eternal soul doesn't speak to you in words, it speaks to you through art, you know. So whenever you see something beautiful, you are identifying with the transcendent soul, you know. You're just finding likeness, in the beautiful. That's why art is supposed to be beautiful. If you see art that is motherfucking ugly, it's the kakos demon trying to make fun of the transcendent, It's always trying to make fun. It copies what the transcendent is trying to tell. It copies it and turns it upside down, like turning the cross upside down, You understand now? It inverts everything. It copies it and then inverts it, like in a mocking way. That's the kakos demon, the living soul. It has a beginning and an end in time. Anyway, so yeah, I think I'm going to shut up. I've been talking almost for 20 minutes. Have a nice day.